One of the problems with stretching in general is that, especially if we're stretching into the flexion direction, into forward bending, is that we may not have enough room for movement in the entire posterior chain of the body. That's the chain of fascia and muscle that runs entirely up the back of the body, from the head to the feet. That means that if I go into that bending, whatever's easy to stretch, that's where it's going to stretch. And for a lot of people, that's the lumbar spine. And then say you go into the average yoga class, and the first thing they ask you to do is, maybe even sitting on the floor, and stretch forward. Already I'm in a lot of lumbar flexion. I go into more, that's just overstretching. I never really get to the rest of the posterior chain. So I have to know how to manage that. If I want to do that pose, and maybe I don't, but I have to know how to manage it and how to work on the parts that I know that I need to work on. So for getting myself up helps me get some degree of lumbar extension already. I'm starting to use some back muscles to erect my spine. Now, with my posterior chain being tight, my hamstrings, my calves, when I straighten out my legs, I lose my back. So if I need another help, I can bend my knees enough, so that brings my lumbar spine up. So already I'm better with my knees bent. So already I'm doing a much different pose than the teacher might suggest. So from there, the pose might be just, for a beginner who's working on posterior chain without injuring lumbar spine, might be just to hold on a strap, work on that lumbar extension. So now I'm adding the lumbar extension. My hamstrings are feeling the stretch, but I'm doing it safely because my lumbar spine is extended. And then if I feel like it, I can hinge from the hip sockets and take that straight spine forward, and then I get a little more hamstring stretch. And that might be my pose for a few weeks if I'm just starting out. If I go the other way, I'm bound to round my spine, and that has ramifications that are not good. Later on, a little bit more straight, same thing, erect the spine, bring it forward. Now if I want to work on, I have another trick for working on this chain from a different position in a moment.